Hi guys, it's Karen with Love Your Land, and the real reason that I've started this whole YouTube thing is finally happening. It's finally here. I'm no longer gonna shoot dog treat videos, at least not till next November. So yay! But I wanted to tell you why, just share with you why I originally started, or what even made me think to do YouTube videos. Two things. One, my daughter. When I was I would have, every year I'd have all my plants in here, and she'd come sit down over here, and she'd tell me to tell her what was happening with all of her plants. And she would sit here. I had this totally captive audience, and she was really interested. Now she's 14. She's a little less interested, but she would always say, "You should do a YouTube video," and I'm like, "Yeah, hilarious." And I never even considered it until this last September. But the other person that inspired me to do this was my friend Tanya. So Tanya, if you're watching, this is for you. She's actually my massage therapist and my friend. And she, along with other friends, have asked me over time, they wanted to know how this whole starting your seeds yourself indoors looked like. It's perfectly fine to go buy plants, little starter plants, and plant those. But even in that case, they're not as mature as the plants that I set out. And I have a really short growing season. It's basically from like June to the end of August. So that's very little time. So what I do instead is I start them now. It's January, I don't even know. It's Monday. It's Martin Luther King Day. So I start them now. And by the time May or possibly the first week of June rolls around, I have completely mature plants that are have flowers or setting fruit, and that is what's required, at least in my experience, in a short season like mine, as short as mine, to actually have tomatoes in like July instead of the end of August when things are actually starting to wind down. So what do I do? First thing I do, you saw this on Facebook, I set up my grow racks. These are not going to hold plants for a while. They're just going to hold supplies, and I like them because they make me think spring is near. But this is what I use. And you don't have to have racks like this. You can make them yourself. You don't even necessarily need racks if you're not growing that much. I grow a lot. The one thing I do really like, and I would highly recommend, is a dome like this. I know you can't see it that well on the camera because it's clear, but it's just a tray. I just spilled a pot of seeds. It's just a tray with a plastic dome on top. And that's where all my seeds go, in my little pots. So I'm just going to fix this right now because it's going to drive me nuts. That guy's a goner, so we'll repot him. We'll use him right now. There's seeds in there too. Oh well, that's okay. Yes, it is very flimsy. I will definitely tell you that. But once all the little pots are in there, it's much more stable. Okay, so to get started, what I do is I get my planting medium ready, and what I use is sterile soil because A, it's sterile, and if it's been baked well and it's a good brand, you're not going to be bringing fungus gnats in right off the bat. They're probably going to make their way in eventually, but at least you're not starting right off the bat with them. The other thing I use is coir, and it's coconut husk. You can get them in these little bricks at your local garden center probably, or what I typically use, I got this one in a pinch because I didn't have any. I order it online, and it's a big, like 12 by 12 cube. It's not a cube, it's 12 by 12, and then it's about that thick. And you have to get like a pickaxe and your husband or whatever, somebody strong to get a chunk off for you. But like that brick right there will expand, like think of your largest salad bowl. You put really hot water in there, and it just goes, and it's this huge bowl of coir. The benefits of coir are, one, it retains moisture in and of itself, but it also improves drainage because it's very light and fluffy. That it creates little air pockets as it sort of breaks down. So it's a great alternative to peat moss. Peat moss is not sustainable. It takes decades and decades to regrow it once it's harvested. Coir, on the other hand, is constantly harvested off of the coconuts that trees regrow year after year. They're constantly regrowing. So coir is totally sustainable. The one caution with coir is if it's not a good brand, coir tends to have high salt levels in it, and if you have real high salt levels in your planting medium or your soil, your plants are going to suffer. It interferes with their water uptake and other things, and it's either going to make them not grow well or it's going to kill them. And so to like save them, you have to take all your pots outside. I had to do this. You take all your pots outside and you flush them with gallons and gallons of water to get that salt out. So just start off with good quarry, you'll be good. So I get my potting, my planting medium ready, and actually, I'll show you. I keep this huge bucket, or whatever this is called, bin, right here in my kitchen because I'm constantly using it, either to start new seeds, or I'm transplanting, or I'm making more, or whatever. So I just keep it in here, and it's handy, and it stays warm too. It's usually pretty cold outside right now. It's like 50, but anyway, and then I take these little pots, and I'm just going to use this one that I already used. I'm making a mess. And dump that back in there. All I do is kind of scoop up, whoops, just flung it everywhere. Put plastic down. I don't know if I said this. This is pre-moistened. So by pre-moistened, I don't mean sopping wet. I mean pre-moistened. Because I don't want to have to pour water into these pots with the little seeds in them when I'm done. So I just scooped up some soil mixture and I'm barely patting it down. You don't want it to be compacted. Okay, and then you take your seeds, and I put 3 in each pot. I just got about 50. And you put them in a little triangular pattern. I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a second. Not with this pot, because I already know from trying it a few minutes ago, you won't be able to see it. But I'm going to do a little like air diagram. Okay, back in your baggie. So these are in here, 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 and here. I know you can't see it that well because I already shot this video and it was way too dark. But it's in like boop, 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 so triangle. And that way when they sprout, they'll have their own little space. The other thing is how far down to plant your seeds, how far down to poke them into the ground or the soil or the pot. The general rule is as far down as they are big. So tomato seeds, pepper seeds, especially basil seeds, you kind of only have to put them on top, and then just sprinkle a tiny bit of soil on the tops of them, only so that they're making contact with the soil. That's what they need to germinate, is to be on all sides, have contact with the soil. Then, like I said, I never pour water into my seed pots or my little tiny seedlings. Once they're bigger I do, but the only thing I use is a spray bottle. And because I'm weird, I put 12 squirts of water in each pot. I don't know why. That's what I've done. So ta-da, that's it. Last but not least, label it. Them as you go, because if you're anything like me, you're going to get on a roll, and 30 seconds later, you're like, I don't know who's who. And if it's something like basil, you're not going to be able to figure it out. You're not even able to find them. Anyway, and then I put them in this little dome. On the top of this dome are 2 vents, one here and one here. They're just little plastic vents. When they're seeds and you're wanting them to germinate, you keep these closed. And the reason for that is because it keeps the humidity level even. And that's what seeds need to germinate. They need even humidity levels, even moisture level in the soil, warmth, and contact with soil or a planting medium. Once they sprout and they get to be a few inches tall, then you open these vents halfway. I'm telling you this in case you want to use one of these things, which I love. Again, I don't use a heat mat. I don't know if I said this, but I don't use a heat mat. I know a lot of people do. I have never found it necessary. You will see, these will sprout. Like I said, this is Monday night, 5 or so o'clock. These will be sprouted in under a week. It's been like 5 days in the past, 4 days even. This thing really does keep it all nice and warm. This is a south-facing window here, and normally these blinds are up. And so this is a really nice, warm, sunny window. So these seeds they're in like the perfect little habitat right now, in their little incubator. And that's it. Once they sprout, I will put this handy dandy Nanotech T5 reflector on here. I'm going to tell you right now, this is my disclaimer. This little thing, not only is it not bright enough, it sits on top. So it's like 5 or 6 inches from the little teensy sprout. That's way too far away. So, but I make do. Lighting is expensive. Great, a timer's going off. as I was saying, lighting is expensive. So what I do is I just make it work. I haven't hooked them up yet because I don't need the lights right now, and I just want to get this video out. But I also take the lights that are up there that you'll see later, and I just bring one down, and so then I have 2 lights on this dome. Once they get a little bit bigger, I take this dome off, and then I can lower the lights down right to the plant, maybe a couple inches above the little teensy seedling, and that's how I make it work. Do my plants get leggy? My seedlings get leggy? Yeah, they do. They do every year, and I know everybody says that's like the kiss of death. Your plants are doomed. Have you seen my garden? Did you see the pictures last year? They make it. And the reason that they make it is because I make it happen. I make it work, and I make sure that I give them all the light I could possibly give them. And that's it. That's really all there is to it. Watering, again, I only use a spray bottle because you don't want to dislodge the seeds. They're all floating around, and they end up in one corner, and then you have all these little seedlings in one spot. Spray bottle, that's all you need. And I just come by once a day, like at night usually, and I check on them, and I tell them that they're great, and I love them. You have to do that also. It's critical. And I give them each their little 12 squirts of water. Sometimes I might skip a day if they look like they're really still quite damp. But you just eyeball it. And before you know it, they'll be sprouting, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, babies. Anyway, once again, these were the Chadwick cherry tomatoes that I started in there. These, if you sent in your seed order, or whatever you want to call it, these are what you got, or what you're getting. So get planting, all right? Thanks for joining me in here. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do another video as soon as these sprout so you can see where we're at, and we'll take it from there, okay? Talk to you guys later. Bye.